SMGs are the most popular weapons in PvE, so I decided to rank all 30 SMGs currently in the game to determine if they're really good or hot garbage. Subscribe. First up is Blood Feud, one of my favorite SMGs. Its stats are a bit low compared to similar weapons, but it gets some really interesting perk combos like Pugilist plus Wellspring, Pugilist Swashbuckler, Ambitious Frenzy, and Grave Robber with Swashbuckler. All of these rolls are great, but honestly, nothing too crazy, so I'll put it in high B tier. Borrowed Time, the Gambit SMG. This gets many great perks that you don't often see on SMGs, like Overflow. However, the perk pool is huge, so you'll probably never see anything good. Plus, the stats are lacking a bit, and it drops from Gambit. Who wants to farm Gambit? C tier. Next is Callus Mini Tool. You already know where this is going. It's a lightweight frame, it has Incandescent, it gives you plus 20 strength and discipline when you have your super, and it feels so good. Let's put it at number 1, for now. Cold Front. This gets some pretty good rolls with things like Subsistence, Perpetual Motion, Rampage, and Frenzy. I never got a good roll though, so with my limited experience, I'm putting it right behind Blood Feud. Speaking of things behind Blood Feud, we have Death Adder. This solar SMG wants to be the recluse so bad, but it fails in almost every way. Just look at it. The only roll maybe worth keeping is Subsistence and Dragonfly, but even that kinda sucks. Definitely hot garbage. And this somehow isn't the lowest on my list. Next up is Inyo D. In my what? I know this is pretty good in PvP, but we don't do that here. It does get some of the best damage perks, but in my opinion, it doesn't really stand out above the others. Let's put it here. Escape Velocity. I've always wanted to love this, but it never met my expectations. It does get Overflow, which I value a lot, but the only damage perks it gets are Vorpal, which you don't really want on an SMG, and Surrounded, which is a little situational since you can't always get that close. It is a lightweight frame though, so it's going right above Borrowed Time. Every Waking Moment used to be terrible, but a while back it got some updated perks which make it pretty good. Nothing insane, but it has Ambitious Assassin and Multi-Kill Clip, which I quite enjoy. It's also easy to farm for through the Cryptolith, so I think it deserves to go to the top of B tier. Still nothing in A though. Extraordinary Rendition is definitely high on the list. It has most things that you want on an SMG. My only complaint is that it's a kinetic weapon, so it struggles to break shields, and takes the same slot as Witherhoard, Wastelander, and Riptide. It's great, but I'm not sure if it deserves S tier, so let's put it in A. Next is Forensic Nightmare. This was the best Stasis SMG when it was the only Stasis SMG. It has pretty much nothing going for it. Hot garbage. Speaking of things that suck, Friction Fire. It does get Rampage, but that's pretty much it. And it's kinetic, so there's no real reason to use this over something like Extraordinary Rendition. Rest in peace. I'm very biased with this next SMG. Funnel Web. The Modern Recluse. It has excellent stats, good perks, and it's void so it can get volatile rounds. Adrenaline Junkie makes it great for grenade builds, and Subsistence means you never have to reload. I was lucky enough to get a God Roll Funnel Web, and I've used it so much in the past couple months. Definitely the best void SMG in the game right now, and you can even focus Umbrals for at the star chart. Easy S tier, right next to the Callus Mini Tool. Hero's Burden. I feel like this is more of a PvP SMG, and the perk pool definitely reflects that. It gets Feeding Frenzy Kill Clip, but that's pretty much it. If they ever change Repulsor Brace, this may become meta, but until then, I'm putting this in C tier. The first exotic on this list is Huckleberry. This has the trait Ride the Bull, which makes it partially reload itself after kills, and the Catalyst makes it fully reload itself after kills. So as long as you get 1 kill with every 37 round magazine, you have unlimited ammo. If this was a legendary, it would absolutely be S tier, but since it takes the exotic slot, I'm gonna put it at the top of A. Maybe I'll change it later. The Ikelos SMG. Easy top of S tier, and here's why. It's arc so it can make you amplified. It gets Volt Shot for some of the best ad clear in the game, alongside Feeding Frenzy to activate Volt Shot faster. And it can create Warmind cells, until Lightfall. You can even craft this to not only get the guaranteed God Roll, but also get enhanced perks. Definitely S tier, and it's going right above the Callus Mini Tool. This next one is probably going to piss off roughly one person. Manticore isn't bad, but it's so annoying and awkward to play with. Its perks rely on you staying in the air, which leaves you vulnerable to a lot more enemies in PvE. It also makes you hover in the air, so sometimes you're kind of just stuck there for a few seconds. And the one subclass that's halfway designed for in-air combat is made extra complicated because you're constantly swapping between your normal glide and this hover mode. As a Warlock main, I hate this, and I don't really see any uses for this outside of PvP. Get this away from me. Multimach, another Iron Banner SMG that is good in Crucible but below average in PvE. There are no crazy perk options, and the few good perks it does have, like subsistence and kill clip, actively work against each other, so I'm going to put this down here. Next up is the most unique SMG by far, Osteo Striga. This is Thorn, but an SMG. Kills with this weapon will spread poison to nearby enemies, and killing those affected by poison will overfill its magazine by a lot, giving it just about infinite ammo. This even stacks with necrotic grips to spread even more poison and clear rooms of enemies with ease. This is one of the best add clear weapons in the entire game, and its unique design makes for some really strong and interesting builds. It is exotic, but this is worth the exotic slot. Definitely not all the time, but in most situations, you can use Osteo to dominate the battlefield. This absolutely goes in S tier, right between Ikelos and Callus Mini Tool. Out of Bounds. This SMG gets a lot of really good perk combos like Demolitionist plus Adrenaline Junkie, Grave Robber plus Swashbuckler, Threat Detector plus Surrounded, and a lot more. I always enjoy using this SMG, but the competition is tough to beat. As an ARC SMG, this has to compete with Ikelos, and it just doesn't come close. Don't get me wrong, this is excellent in Crucible, one of my favorites, but I just don't think I can put it any higher than B tier in PvE. Pizza Kato. It's alright. It's a 900 RPM, which makes it good by default, but it doesn't really get any perks that blow me away. Sure, it gets Ambitious Assassin, Multi-Kill Clip, and some other good perks, but I don't see myself using this much. Granted, I've never played with a god roll of this, so I could be wrong, but for now, I'm going to put this right here behind Out of Bounds. Next up is Prolonged Engagement. Like the video. This is the new Vanguard SMG, and it's actually sick. This is the same model as Death Adder, but this time it has better stats, and it's stasis. The base range is 4 points lower, but everything else is an improvement. And this actually gains access to a bunch of awesome perk combos. I could talk about this for a long time with the amount of perks it has, but the role I'm looking for is Perfect Float and Frenzy. These have a weird interaction that causes Frenzy to activate in 6 seconds instead of 12, making it easier to always have a damage buff. Besides that, it gets Multi-Kill Clip, Surrounded, Target Lock, Headstone, and so much more to choose from. For those reasons, it's going in S tier. Risk Runner. This exotic SMG becomes completely overpowered after receiving arc damage. The Chain Lightning easily clears rooms and gives you damage resistance against additional arc damage. I'd say it's as strong as Osteo, if not stronger, but I'm going to put it in A tier since it's a little situational. Not every enemy has arc damage, so in some activities, it's just a normal SMG. But when you can get it going, it's insane. Now on to the 7th Seraph SMG. At one time, this was my favorite primary in the game, but over the years, it kind of fell off. Just like my channel. The perk rolls definitely aren't amazing, Warmind cells are being removed soon, and the Ikelos SMG is just better. I'm still a little biased though, so B tier. Next up is Shayura's Wrath. This is the Trials SMG, and because of that, you may think this is a Crucible weapon. Well, it is, but it's also insanely strong in PvE too. First of all, it has great stability, handling, and range. By default, it's just better than Inyo, even though they're the same archetype. Shayura's gets damage perks in Kill Clip, Harmony, Adrenaline Junkie, and Golden Tricorn, and in the other column, you can go for Perpetual Motion or even Killing Wind. But the thing that sets this apart from others is its origin trait, Alacrity. Gain increased reload, stability, aim assist, and range when you're the last living member of your fire team, or running solo. As you guys know, I'm Marshix and I make Destiny 2 guides for solo players, so I definitely love this perk. It makes it feel so good all the time. The only downside is that you have to play Trials to get it. Solid A tier. Stochastic Variable. I always wanted to like this SMG, but I could never get used to it. It's a 900 RPM like Funnel Web and Prolonged Engagement, but those are Viced frames and this is Amalon, which means the base stability is quite a bit lower. And with further inspection, it's basically just worse than Funnel Web. It is, however, the only weapon to get Phase Mag, which lowers the rate of fire for increased damage. Awesome in theory, less awesome in practice. It also gets decent perks, nothing too insane, but I'll put this in B tier. Submission. This is the Valve the Disciple Raid SMG. Another 900 RPM, this time with good stats, solid perk rolls, and an origin trait called Soul Drinker that heals you after reloading. And you can craft it with enhanced perks. This is very strong and very popular, so it certainly deserves a high ranking. I think right behind Shayura's is good. Teraba, more like Terrible. Just kidding. This has the exotic perk Ravenous Beast that stores up power when dealing or receiving damage. Once it's fully charged, you can convert this into its Super Saiyan form. So yeah, it's a ton of fun and very strong. It has a lot of competition though, so I think I'm gonna have to put it in B tier. The top of B. The title is just so disappointing. Decent rolls, bad stats, and an origin trait that should be good, but takes way too many kills to be noticeable. I enjoyed it when it first came out, but I haven't touched it since. hot garbage. Next up is Unforgiven. This is a 750 RPM void SMG with great perk rolls like Demolitionist and Adrenaline Junkie, Feeding Frenzy Rampage, Feeding Frenzy Frenzy, or Golden Tricorn. It also has an origin trait that increases reload speed after taking damage. It's nice to have. This SMG is a little hard to control thanks to its 16 stability, but besides that, it's really strong. A tier. And that's it. If you disagree with my list, let me know why in the comments, and if you want to see my next video early, follow me at twitch.tv/MarshixPrime. There's a 28% chance I'm live right now. If you don't care about that, watch this video next. Thanks for watching, I'm Marshix, and I'll see you next time.